Alright, so the question here is to graph and locate the foci of x squared over 36 minus y squared over 9 is equal to 1. And we also want to give the equations of the asymptotes. Alright, so first thing we should do then is just get our values of a, b, and c. Okay. Now based on the way that the equation of this hyperbola is given, we notice that the x squared term is first. Okay. And a squared is always beneath the first term here, right? So a squared is 36. So that tells us then that b, or a, is going to equal 6. Okay. B squared then should equal 9, which means that b is going to equal 3. Now remember, in an ellipse, the relationship between a, b, and c, right? C squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. Okay, so in this case, c squared is going to equal 36 plus 9. Okay, so c squared is equal to 45, so then that'll be c, right? C will be the square root of 45. So we can certainly simplify that, right? So the square root of 45, which can equal 3 radical 5. Okay. All right. Now, I mean, we can graph this guy, right? We don't. It'll definitely help with getting the equation of the asymptotes and visualizing what they're going to be. Okay. Now, okay, the center is at 0, 0. Okay, so the center is at 0, 0, and we know that in this case the transverse axis will be horizontal, right? We know that the transverse axis is horizontal because the x squared term is first. Okay. So what does that mean? How are we going to draw this guy? Well, it means that from the center we should go to the left 6 units. And we should go to the right 6 units. Okay, so the vertices are going to be here, right? And once again, these hyperbola are going to open left to right. Okay, so that's A, right? A, this is going to be 6 units each in each direction. Okay, now B is equal to 3, so that means we're going to go up 3 units and down 3 units. Okay, so what we can do now is we can draw or build our box. Okay, so we can build our box here, right? And what does that mean? Why do we need the box, right? Well, this is the outline for our asymptotes, right? So we know that our asymptotes should go through the center, right? And it will go through these opposite corners of the box here. Okay? So these are our asymptotes, and finally we can draw the hyperbolas, right? Remember, these hyperbolas are going to open left to right. Okay, so follow the asymptotes. Touch through each vertex here, right? So these are our U-shaped hyperbolas that open left to right. Now the foci are going to be 3 radical 5 units, okay, away from the center along the main axis, right? So 3 radical 5, right? That's going to be a little bit bigger than 6 here, okay? So we can locate the foci, right? They're just going to be about over here. And once again, we're just eyeballing this. Okay, so I didn't really draw each individual hash mark. Okay, but that's where the foci will be. Now, what about the asymptotes, right? The question says to give the equations of the asymptotes, right? So these blue lines here, right? These are the asymptotes. So when it says to give the equations, right, we need the slopes, and also we need the y-intercepts of each of these blue lines, right? Well, how are we going to get the y-intercept hopefully is pretty straightforward, right? Because if these lines go through the center, right, go through 0, 0, then the y-intercept is just 0. Okay? But how do you get the slope of these lines? And the key is the box, right? So if you think about it, right, to go from this point to this point here, didn't we go up, in this case, b units, right? So we're going to go up b units, or in this case, we're going to go up 3. And then to hit to this point here, we're going to go to the right a units, right? In this case, we're going to go 6 units, right? So the slope, right, the slope of each of these asymptotes is going to be b over a, right? You notice this is going to be positive b over a, but this one, the other line, is going to be the negative b over a, right? So we can write it just as plus or minus. Now in this case, b was equal to 3, and a was equal to 6, right? So the slopes of these lines are going to be plus or minus 3 over 6, or also known as 1 half, right? So in this case, the equation of each of these lines is going to be a positive 1 half x, and the other equation will be negative 1 half x. Okay, so remember, you got to get the slope, you got to get the y-intercept, and then write it in the slope-intercept form. Okay. In this case, the y-intercepts are 0, so we don't need to put that plus 0 here at the end, right? So these two are going to be the equations of these asymptotes.